Your net worth is $4.1 million. Last Tuesday, your mother called to ask if you needed money. Not because anything went wrong, not because you said anything concerning. She called because your car is 7 years old, you haven't taken a real vacation in 3 years, and the last time you came home for the holidays, you were wearing the same jacket from the year before. She offered help quietly, the way only a mother can, with a careful tenderness that told you she'd been sitting with that thought for weeks. You told her you were fine. She didn't fully believe you. And the strangest part? You didn't correct her. You let the assumption hang there between you on the phone, because explaining the truth would require a conversation neither of you is quite ready for. That is what $4.1 million looks like from the outside. It looks like absolutely nothing. My name is Mike, and what I'm about to walk you through isn't a highlight reel. It's the real, unfiltered story of how quiet, disciplined, and almost invisible financial decisions compounded into life-changing wealth over roughly 15 years. No inheritance, no lucky stock picks, no viral business. Just a notebook, a grocery store cereal aisle, and a decision made on a Sunday afternoon that changed everything. If you've ever felt like wealth is something that happens to other people, I want you to stay until the very end of this video, because this story will fundamentally shift how you think about money. It started at 26. No dramatic revelation, no mentor pulling back the curtain, just an ordinary Tuesday when you decided quietly and without ceremony to stop spending money on things you didn't actually need. You were earning $54,000 annually at a mid-sized logistics company. One-bedroom apartment at $970 per month. Car payment of $340. Student loans on autopay. After everything cleared, you had roughly $400 left each month, sometimes $600 if you were disciplined. You weren't building anything meaningful. You were surviving and calling it living. What changed wasn't a book or a motivational podcast. It was a Sunday afternoon with a plain notebook where you wrote down every single dollar. Not a budget in the aspirational sense, but a raw, honest accounting. What comes in? What goes out? What remains? The answer was $400. You stared at that number for a long time. You'd already watched the pattern play out in the people around you. Every raise quietly consumed by a lifestyle upgrade that felt earned. The better apartment. The newer car. The groceries that shifted from whatever was cheapest to whatever looked best in the cart. None of it felt like overspending. All of it was. You made one decision that Sunday. Not to start a business. Not to become a stock trader. Just to stop. Stop upgrading. Stop allowing your lifestyle to inflate every time your income grew. Keep the apartment. Keep the car. Keep everything exactly as it was, and redirect every raise, every bonus, and every extra dollar into accounts that were completely separate from your checking account. That one decision, made with no audience and no applause, became the foundation of everything. The first full year, you saved $8,400. You maxed your Roth IRA for the first time, contributing the $6,000 annual limit allowed at the time, and deposited the remainder into a high-yield savings account earning 4.2% annually. A tip you'd overheard from a coworker who'd likely forgotten he ever mentioned it. Your family noticed the car wasn't changing. Your sister asked if work was going okay. You said yes, because it was. At 29, you received a promotion bringing your salary to $72,000. The number felt significant for approximately 3 days. Then you ran the math and moved forward. You did not upgrade the apartment. You did not buy a new car. You increased your 401 contribution to the IRS maximum, which as of 2024, sits at $23,000 annually for employees under 50 and opened a taxable brokerage account with the remainder. You invested in broad market index funds, not because of deep analysis, but because you understood clearly that the cost of being wrong, trying to beat the market, far exceeded the cost of being consistently, productively boring. So you were boring. Every month, the same contribution into the same diversified funds, regardless of what the market was doing or what your colleagues were predicting about the next hot sector. Your portfolio had no opinions. It simply compounded. By 31, your net worth crossed $100,000. You were standing in a grocery store cereal aisle when you checked your phone and saw the number. You stood there quietly for a moment, slipped the phone back into your pocket, grabbed the store brand cereal, went home. Nobody knew. And here's something worth understanding about the people who love you. Their mental model of who you are financially gets established early and updates slowly. Your family saw you at 24 and built a picture. Responsible, but not wealthy. Careful with money, but not exactly thriving. They weren't wrong about the car. They weren't wrong about the vacations. What they were wrong about was the conclusion. At 33, something happened that no one in your life knows about to this day. You had $180,000 in liquid investable assets outside of retirement accounts when a former colleague reached out about a small commercial property. 3 retail units in a mid-sized town 2 hours away. 1 existing tenant, 2 vacant. Asking price of $310,000. The capitalization rate, assuming the vacant units were filled, projected between 7% and 9% annually. For context, a cap rate measures a property's net operating income divided by its purchase price, and anything between 6% and 10% in a stable market is generally considered a sound investment. You drove out on a Saturday morning, walked the units, spoke with the existing tenant, a dry cleaner who had operated there for 11 years with no intention of leaving, observed foot traffic for an hour, studied the surrounding block, and drove home. You made an offer. You put $78,000 down and financed the remainder. The monthly mortgage payment was $1,680. The dry cleaner alone covered $4,100 of it. Within 6 months, you secured a second tenant, a small insurance office paying $1,100 per month. The property covered its own debt within the first year. Within 3 years, it was generating $820 per month in net income after taxes, maintenance reserves, and a property manager you eventually hired because the 4-hour round trip was costing you more than his fee. You did not tell your family. Not out of secrecy, but because there was never a natural opening, and then the window quietly closed. At 36, you purchased a residential duplex in an undervalued neighborhood you'd spent 6 months researching before committing. Both units were rented within 3 weeks of closing. At 38, the combined appreciation of the commercial property, your brokerage portfolio, and maxed retirement accounts pushed your total net worth past $1 million. You were sitting in a Tuesday afternoon work meeting when you checked your phone during a break and saw the number. You placed the phone face down on the table and rejoined the conversation. Here's what nobody tells you about building wealth quietly. The silence compounds at the same rate the money does. Every year that passes without the conversation makes the conversation feel heavier. Not because anyone would be angry. You've turned that over many times and you genuinely don't believe they would be. But because the gap between their version of you and the real version has widened to the point where correcting it feels like a revelation. And revelations rearrange things. You've seen it happen to others. The friend who turned out to have more than anyone assumed, and suddenly the energy in the room shifted just slightly. Nobody intended it. It simply happened. You are now 42. The net worth crossed $4.1 million 14 months ago, confirmed not in a dramatic moment, but during your annual January review, the same spreadsheet you've updated every year since you were 27. Total assets minus total liabilities. The same formula, the same Sunday morning ritual, the same mug of coffee. The number appeared on the screen and you sat with it. You thought about the Sunday at 26 with the notebook and the $400. You thought about the dry cleaner who has now been a tenant for 20 years. You thought about the index funds that absorbed every income increase without drama, without requiring anything from you except patience and consistency. You drive a 2017 Honda Accord with 96,000 miles on it. You still buy the store brand cereal. Last month, your father, over dinner, mentioned he'd seen a deal on a used truck and quietly offered to help with the down payment. He said it the way he says things he's been thinking about for a while, casually framed, doing considerable emotional labor beneath the surface. You told him you appreciated it. You told him the car was fine. He looked at the Accord in the driveway when you left, the way someone looks at something they've carried quiet concern about for longer than they've admitted. People sometimes ask the obvious question. If you're not spending it, if no one knows, if the life looks from the outside like someone who is simply getting by, then what exactly have you been building toward? The answer has evolved. At 26, you were stopping a bleed. At 31, you were constructing something even if its shape wasn't yet clear. By 38, you understood what you were actually after. It was never the number itself. It was what the number eliminated. A medical bill stops being a crisis. A slow quarter at work stops rearranging your nervous system. A decision gets made based on what you actually want rather than what you can currently afford to want. That is what $4.1 million purchased. Not status, not things, not a conversation at the dinner table, just the quiet, permanent fact that money no longer manages you. You manage it. If this story resonated with you, hit subscribe right now. Every week, I bring you real financial strategies, honest breakdowns, and the kind of money education that actually changes your trajectory. The people who subscribe today are the ones who look back in 10 years and understand exactly why they did. Don't wait for a dramatic moment. This is yours.